These songs didn't grow old, they became eternal. In the 1970s, anthems were born so powerful that even today, they still hit with the same force they did back then. Songs that didn't just fill the radio, they filled something deeper, a generation, a feeling, a moment in time that never truly ended. Today, we're going to relive 10 legendary songs from the 1970s that changed the history of rock forever. And if you were there, you know these songs were truly one of a kind. Let's begin. Number 10, Hotel California by Eagles. There are songs that describe a place, and then there is Hotel California.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
A song that describes a feeling so universal that millions of people around the world heard it and thought it was written specifically for them. Released in 1977, Hotel California opened with one of the most instantly recognizable guitar introductions in rock history. Don Felder's intricate acoustic fingerpicking, building slowly toward a song that would become one of the defining recordings of the entire decade. The song reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and won the Grammy Award for Record of the Year. But its commercial success tells only part of the story. What made Hotel California truly remarkable was its atmosphere. A dark, cinematic meditation on the seductive trap of success, excess, and the California dream gone wrong. Don Henley's lyric was a deliberate piece of American mythology, drawing on images of luxury and imprisonment simultaneously. The famous twin guitar outro, Felder and Joe Walsh trading leads over a chord progression that seemed to stretch toward infinity, became one of the most celebrated instrumental passages in rock history. What few people know is that the song went through numerous revisions before reaching its final form. The band spent months perfecting the arrangement, layering guitars and vocals with a patience and attention to detail that defined their studio approach. For many, hearing Hotel California for the first time was a turning point. The moment they understood that rock music could be something more than noise. It could be literature, it could be cinema, it could be a place you visited every time the needle dropped. Number 9, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. In 1975, Freddie Mercury walked into a recording studio with a song that nobody believed could work, and created one of the most extraordinary recordings in the history of popular music. Bohemian Rhapsody defied every rule of commercial pop songwriting. It was nearly 6 minutes long at a time when radio stations refused to play anything over 3. It shifted between a tender ballad, a hard rock section, and a full operatic sequence without any apparent logic. It had no chorus in the conventional sense. It told a story that nobody fully understood, and it went to #1 in the United Kingdom for 9 weeks. The operatic section alone took 3 weeks to record, with Mercury, May, and Taylor layering their vocals over and over until the tape was literally wearing thin from the number of overdubs. Brian May's guitar work throughout the song is extraordinary, precise, melodic, and building to a hard rock climax that serves as a perfect emotional release. The promotional film Queen made for the song is widely considered the first true music video, a piece of visual art made to accompany a recording rather than simply document a performance. It changed the music industry permanently. What makes Bohemian Rhapsody genuinely miraculous is that it should not exist. A song that ambitious, that strange, that commercially risky had no business becoming one of the best-selling singles in history. And yet here we are, 50 years later, and the world still knows every word. For many, Bohemian Rhapsody was the moment they realized that rock music had no ceiling, that there were no rules, that the only limit was imagination. Number 8, Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. In 1971, Led Zeppelin released a song that would become the most requested track in the history of FM radio. A song so beloved and so endlessly discussed that it has become almost impossible to hear it fresh. But try. Stairway to Heaven
She's my stairway to heaven.
begins with Jimmy Page's gentle acoustic guitar, a finger-picked introduction of great delicacy and beauty that gradually, almost imperceptibly, builds. John Paul Jones adds a recorder line. Robert Plant begins to sing, and then, over the course of 8 minutes, the song transforms, growing louder, heavier, more urgent, until it reaches a guitar solo that many musicians consider the greatest ever recorded. The song was never released as a single. Led Zeppelin refused to do so, and yet it became one of the most played songs in rock history, kept alive entirely by radio stations and their listeners. What is remarkable is how deliberately the song was constructed. Page had been developing the chord sequence for years before Stairway to Heaven emerged. Plant wrote much of the lyrics spontaneously during a single evening at a Welsh farmhouse. The combination of careful craft and instinctive inspiration produced something that felt both inevitable and miraculous. For many, Stairway to Heaven was not just a song, it was a rite of passage. The first time they sat alone in the dark with headphones and let music take them somewhere they had never been before. Number 7, Go Your Own Way by Fleetwood Mac. In 1977, Fleetwood Mac entered the recording studio while their personal lives were collapsing around them, and produced one of the most emotionally honest albums in rock history. Go Your Own Way was the song that opened that story to the world. Lindsey Buckingham wrote Go Your Own Way about his breakup with Stevie Nicks. The raw frustration in his vocal performance, the almost violent energy of the guitar work, and the pounding drum pattern that Mick Fleetwood built created something that felt genuinely dangerous. A song recorded by people with real wounds, saying real things to each other across a recording console. The uncomfortable reality is that Stevie Nicks had to sing backing vocals on a song in which her former partner accused her publicly of things she disputed. She has spoken about this in interviews. The professionalism and the pain of doing that night after night. Go Your Own Way reached number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became one of the signature songs of the decade. But its chart position is almost beside the point. What matters is the emotional truth at its center, the way it captures the specific terrible feeling of watching a relationship end while being unable to stop it. For many, hearing Go Your Own Way for the first time was a revelation. That music could be this honest, that a rock band put something this real and this painful on a record and make it sound this glorious. Number 6. Superstition by Stevie Wonder. In 1972, Stevie Wonder sat down behind a drum kit, played the opening groove himself, and recorded the introduction to one of the greatest funk songs ever written. Superstition was born almost by accident. Wonder had written it as a gift for Jeff Beck, who had asked him for a song. But when Motown heard the recording, they insisted Wonder release it himself. Beck eventually recorded his own version, but it was Wonder's original that changed everything. The song reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and the R&B charts simultaneously. The clavinet riff that drives the song is one of the most imitated musical phrases in history. Every keyboard player who came after Wonder has studied it. Most have concluded it is impossible to replicate. What makes Superstition extraordinary is the density of its arrangement. Every element, the drums, the bass, the horns, the clavinet, is locked into a groove so tight that removing any single element would cause the entire structure to collapse. It is a masterclass in how to build a rhythm track. For many, Superstition was the first time they understood what funk actually was. Not just a style of music, but a physical experience. A song you feel in your chest before you process it with your brain. Where were you the first time you heard that opening groove? Let us know in the comments. Are you enjoying this journey through the greatest songs of the 1970s? If these songs are bringing back memories, go ahead and hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel keep making content like this. And if you haven't subscribed to Golden Era Hits yet, now is the perfect time. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a new video. We have so much more coming. Now, let's get back to the countdown. Number 5. Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. In 1979, Pink Floyd released a double album about the slow psychological collapse of a rock star, and buried within it, like a gem in a dark cave, was Comfortably Numb. The song began as a piece Roger Waters had written based on his own experience of being injected with a muscle relaxant before a concert to get him through a show despite illness. That personal memory of dissociation, of being present in your body but somehow absent from it, became the emotional foundation of one of the most powerful songs in rock history. The structure is deceptively simple. Waters sings the verses, quiet, clinical, the voice of a doctor examining a patient who has retreated entirely into himself. Then the chorus opens up, and David Gilmour's voice arrives like light through clouds. And then, twice in the song, Gilmour plays a guitar solo. The second of those solos is considered by many musicians to be the greatest guitar solo ever recorded. Not the fastest, not the most technically complex, but the most emotionally complete, a piece of playing that says everything the words cannot, with a restraint and a beauty that makes it almost unbearable to listen to. The song reached number 1 in the United Kingdom upon its original release, and has never truly left the cultural conversation since. For many, Comfortably Numb is the song they return to when they need to feel something they cannot name. That is the rarest gift a piece of music can offer. Number 4, Dream On by Aerosmith. In 1973, a young band from Boston released a ballad so ambitious and so emotionally raw that it felt like it had been written by people twice their age. Dream On was Steven Tyler's creation, a song he had been developing since his teenage years, building it slowly from a piano chord sequence into a full orchestral rock statement. When Aerosmith finally recorded it for their debut album, Tyler's vocal performance was extraordinary, starting in a low, almost conversational register and building over the course of 4 minutes to a screaming high note that felt like a physical act of desperation. The song was not an immediate hit. It reached number 59 on the Billboard Hot 100 on its original release and was largely overlooked. It was only when Columbia Records re-released it in 1976 that Dream On reached the top 15 and introduced Aerosmith to the mainstream audience they deserved. That delayed recognition became part of the song's mythology. A song about perseverance and the refusal to stop dreaming, that itself had to persevere for 3 years before the world was ready for it. For many, Dream On was the first time a rock song made them feel the weight of time passing. The bittersweet awareness that youth is temporary and that the things we dream of require us to keep reaching, no matter how long it takes. Number 3, More Than a Feeling by Boston. In 1976, a band from Massachusetts released a debut album that sounded unlike anything that had come before it, and the song that opened that album became one of the most instantly recognizable recordings in rock history. More Than a Feeling was Tom Scholz's creation, and Scholz was not a typical rock musician. He had a degree in mechanical engineering from MIT and had spent years building his own recording equipment in a basement studio. The result was a sound of extraordinary clarity and power, guitars layered with a precision that had never been achieved in rock before. The song reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and launched Boston into the front rank of American rock bands almost overnight. The opening guitar figure, clean, ringing, immediately distinctive, became one of those musical passages that people can identify in less than a second. What makes More Than a Feeling genuinely interesting is its theme, a song about the way music itself triggers memory and feeling, about hearing an old song and being transported back to a specific moment, a specific person, a specific version of yourself that no longer exists. The irony is beautiful. A song about the power of music to bring back the past has itself become one of the most powerful musical triggers for an entire generation's memories. For many, More Than a Feeling is the sound of a specific summer, a specific car, a specific person in the passenger seat who meant everything. And every time those opening guitar notes arrive, the years collapse and they are back there again. Number 2, Roxanne by The Police. In 1978, a British trio released a song that combined reggae rhythms, punk energy, and an extraordinary vocal performance into something that sounded completely unlike anything else on the radio. Roxanne was written after Sting spent time in Paris and became fascinated by the world of the red light district near the band's hotel. The song told the story of a man in love with a woman who sells herself, not with judgment, but with longing and desperation. It was a remarkably sophisticated lyric for a debut single from a band that most people had never heard of. The song was initially rejected by radio stations in the United States who found its subject matter too provocative, but it found its audience anyway, eventually reaching the top 30 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 12 in the United Kingdom. What few people know is that the recording begins with an accident. Sting accidentally sat on the band's piano at the start of the session, producing a jarring chord that was left in the final recording. That moment of human imperfection at the opening of one of the decade's most polished recordings says something important about where great music actually comes from. For many, Roxanne was the moment they realized that the most interesting rock music was happening outside the mainstream, in smaller venues, on independent labels, with bands who were making their own rules. Number 1, Kashmir by Led Zeppelin. In 1975, Led Zeppelin released what many consider their greatest single achievement, a song so vast, so hypnotic, and so completely unlike anything else in rock that it required an entirely new vocabulary to describe. Kashmir was 4 years in the making. Jimmy Page and Robert Plant began developing the musical idea in the early 1970s, but it took years of refinement before the final recording was completed. The orchestral arrangement, strings and brass layered over John Bonham's monumental drum pattern, was the work of John Paul Jones, whose classical training gave the song a grandeur that rock music had never previously attempted. The song became one of the centerpieces of Led Zeppelin's live performances, a song they played with a devotion and seriousness that made clear they considered it their masterwork. What makes Kashmir extraordinary is its patience. The song does not rush. It does not build to a conventional climax. Instead, it creates and sustains an atmosphere of almost supernatural power, a feeling of vast space, ancient mystery, and relentless forward motion that never quite arrives at its destination because the journey is the point. Plant has said that Kashmir captures something he has spent his entire career trying to put into words, the feeling of being small in front of something immense, of standing at the edge of the desert and feeling the weight of everything that existed before you and everything that will exist after. For many, Kashmir is not just a song. It is an experience, a reminder that rock music, at its greatest, can touch something in us that has no name and no explanation. And that feeling, that moment of contact with something larger than ourselves, is why we keep coming back. And that is our countdown, the top 10 most iconic songs of the 1970s. Songs that didn't just fill the airwaves, they filled something inside us that we didn't know was empty until we heard them. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these songs takes you back to a specific moment in your life? Where were you? Who were you with? What were you feeling? Drop your memories in the comments below. I read every single one, and your stories are the best part of making these videos. If this countdown brought something back for you, please hit the like button. It helps this channel more than you know. And subscribe to Golden Era Hits and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. We have so much more coming your way. See you in the next one, my rock-loving friend.